When good movie reviews took over the internet.
This situation must be controlled before it's too late.
When bad beer filled the fridges.
People have got to start to fight back and hard.
They came to clean it up. YouTubers, podcasters, and viewers, beware.
Is this a homicide or a bad B movie?
Starring Lee Barton, Nathan Pinkering, and introducing Ben Arnold in Beer and Bad Movies.
So, welcome back. This is our third episode and our summer special. I'm Ben. I'll be hosting today. Joining me as always is Mr. Lee Bartlett.
Hello.
And of course, as always, Mr. Nathan Pickering.
Where I come from, they call them Baldies. Hello.
So, we've got a lot to talk about tonight because, as you both know, we watched a very campy, very over-the-top, a very cheesy classic. It's a slasher film. It was pretty much a sleeper hit when it was released. Didn't really ruffle any feathers, went a bit under the radar, but recently it's become known as a bit of a classic. So it's probably best known for its surprising conclusion. We aren't getting too much away yet. We will be dipping into spoiler territory. So I would recommend watching this one before we get into it. So you've probably all guessed it from the title of the video. And if you do follow us on Letterboxd, you will know that this is the 1983 slasher Sleepaway Camp.
So we've got Angela Baker, a shy, definitely traumatised young girl. She is sent to summer camp, which is one of those, if you're unsure what a summer camp is, it's one of those American places by a lake. They kind of throw them all in, don't they? And they all have a fun time. She went there with her cousin. Shortly after her arrival, anyone with sinister or less than honourable intentions gets there and hears a big word, comeuppance. Perfect description for that film. I think it's a very nice paragraph that nails it 100%. Few bits of information for you. The director is someone called Robert Hiltzik. It was released 1983, November 18th. It had a tidy budget of $350,000. Opening weekend was at $433, so got the money back straight away. Praise the Lord. And overall, it grossed $11 million. So obviously, they made a bit of a tidy bit of profit there. IMDb 6.3, and Rotten Tomatoes we got a 77%. That year, other than of course large blockbusters, which we are not. Obviously, we're B movies. We're not talking about them blockbusters. Well, every now and again they'll crop up, but we're dismissing them. We're dismissing all them good films. I mean, blockbuster film. We're talking about the B movies. We have Videodrome by David Cronenberg, and I'm guilty of not watching this one. I checked the trailer out earlier, and good lord, it is very interesting. I'm a bit of a loss for kind of words on how to describe it, but I really want to dig into that film. I want to watch that film. I think that'd be a great one to talk about at some point. We have Christine, John Carpenter. I know nothing of that one. Psycho 2, Richard Franklin. I haven't seen Psycho 2. I was just saying to these two earlier. I have seen Psycho 1. You guys got any information about those?
Yeah, just on Videodrome, it is a body horror classic. Obviously, Cronenberg is the master. And for any fans out there, I'll say,
Long live the new flesh.
And yeah, definitely watch that one. As for Psycho 2, I would say, and this is a controversial hot take, that it's better than Psycho 1. But it's Anthony Perkins reprising his role. It's like set 30 years later when he comes out of the loony bin. And basically, he's trying to live a normal life. And you kind of feel sorry for the guy, but people won't leave him alone. And yeah, it takes a turn for worse. Good film.
Was it made 30 years later?
Yeah, exactly 30 years later, I think. And he
was actually locked up in real life then, and then when he came out, they were like,
yeah.
"Oh, let's make another film."
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, check it out. I definitely recommend it if you like Psycho 1. But yeah, Go on, Nick.
I ain't seen Psycho 2. I've obviously seen Psycho 1. Psycho 2, I do know about it, though, and it does look good. I've seen Videodrome. But my favourite from the list is Christine. It's a Stephen King adaptation, and everyone knows I love Stephen King. And it's like a 1950s dweeby kid that gets a car, and he becomes basically emo Spider-Man, like from the Tobey Maguire ones, and the car kills people and it can regenerate. It sounds ridiculous, but it's a proper good film. It's got some good cinematics, good cheesy actors, even though it's like a top film. It's a bit B-movie, so I'd give that one a watch.
I love that B-movie. Yeah. That's a great
thing. Got that B-movie.
I think we should say all the time. That's really B-movie. Yes. B-movie. And that's the slogan on the T-shirt. Yeah. It's B-movie.
B-movie. That's what we need.
I'll get them made.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving me that bit of information about those films. I think I'm going to watch Psycho 1 again, and if I feel like it, I'll get that Psycho 2. Don't know about Christine, but I'm definitely going to watch Videodrome. So that's enough of that chat. Let's get on for the trailer, which is coming along now.
Dear Mom and Dad, I've been at a sleepaway camp for almost 3 weeks, and I'm getting very scared.
Welcome to Sleepaway Camp. Someone is watching you.
Hey, Baba, Reba!
Someone is waiting for you. Someone wants to scare you to death.
Turn the wheel! Oh my God!
Sleepaway Camp. You won't be coming home.
Hope you enjoyed the trailer.
Right, and I'll introduce what beer we've paired. This one, it's a little bit different. We've gone with a sour style beer, which is traditionally done with like wild yeasts. Normally, when you're brewing beer, you want everything as clean as possible. This one's a little bit dirty, but in a good way. It's more acidic, it's more tart. It has a sour taste, if you can't guess. You've got traditional beer styles like Belgian Lambics. Gozers, I've just read that, as you can tell. Gozers and Flanders Red Ale, just to name a few.
Gozer.
Gozer. But yeah, I can't get my head around words. But yeah, we've got some good sour beers. The one I've chose this time, the can's gone wet because we've left it that long, is Fallen Acorn Brewery, and it's Have You Got Any Samples? It's 7%, and it's a sour ale. And the reason I've chose this one, it sort of goes with why we've decided to have a sour one. It's because it's got a little bit of a twist on stuff. It's got something a little bit different, but in a good way. So I think it pairs really, really well. The one I've got is vegan as well. That's the only reason I've chose it. Well, not the only reason.
Just to dip in, what makes a beer not vegan? They have to swill it around with the bones of the dead animals.
No, they put swim bladders in from fish. It's isinglass. It's a fining.
And you can get lactose.
Fuck off! What is that about?
Yeah, you can get lactose in it as well. I forgot about lactose. Yeah, isinglass it's in most beers that it clears the protein out of it, to make a clearer beer. So it's powdered. I can't remember which fish, but a fish's swim bladder basically. This one is raspberry, blackberry, and passion fruit, and it's got vegan marshmallows added into it, and it's made like sort of smoother. So I'm expecting it to be thick. So let's see if it is actually thick, because I do like a thick sour. This is actually my favourite style of beer. Not that Ben shouts at me every time I drink them because he thinks I drink too many, and he likes a mixture. That does look actually like a smoothie. I don't know if you can see. It looks like a proper fruit smoothie.
What is that?
It's a sour fiend.
Yeah, I love it.
They just sit on them sours all night.
Yeah, it gives
too much acid.
Yeah, it gives me a proper bellyache. These after like 6 of them.
for people who don't drink them normally, they are a good like palate cleanser. So if you're drinking like heavy stuff like stouts or New England style, it cuts through that quite nice. So have one in between. I'm like one of them drinkers who will have one every like 4 or 5 other beers.
Okay.
But I'll have one every single time because I love sour stuff anyway. But you got
just on repeat, just
the colour's not picking it up very well, but it is quite pink. You can't really. It looks like a brownie pink, but it does look like an actual smoother.
Looks thick and muddy.
Yeah, that's how I like them. I mean, look at like residue it's leaving on glass. You can tell it's thick with that.
Looks terrible.
It smells delicious.
It looks like your kid's gone, Dad, I made this like drink out of these ingredients out of the cupboard. Do you want it? And you go, yeah.
That's what I like. That's exactly what I like.
And we've all done that, haven't we? With our kids who go, yeah, lovely. It's like
straight away, it's extremely thick, extremely sour, but both of that is really good. The mouth feels perfect. There's no head on it. I don't know if you can tell properly, which is a bit strange, but I think it's because of how thick it is. And it's it tastes banana-y, but it didn't say there was any banana in it. That might be the marshmallows, but yeah, I rate this one highly. It's not my favourite sour, but I'll tell you after I've drank more in it. But I'm sure you haven't had a sour before, have you, Lee? Have you?
You see, we spoke about this a minute ago, and it's like I don't know. I'm not sure. Ben says they're pretty new on the scene. Like, you don't get many shots very often, and like I'm not sure. So, but I have the habit of picking random beers and just going, "Oh, that's." I'm one of these that like if it's on offer, I just kind of go, "I'll just try it." But who knows? I'll get mine. All right, straight in. I don't think I've had one by this brand, but I do know that one of you two said that it was a decent one. So I'll lift it. Whether you can, I don't know if you're going to be able to actually read that, but it's by a company called Vault City Brewing, and this is a raspberry sour at 5%. Is there anything interesting to read on the back? Oh yes, celebrating the king of Scottish berries, the humble and mighty raspberry, grown in the foothills of the Cairngorm Mountains, tart, juicy, and sweet in equal measure. Just how I like my women. I've got this beer. And let me find an opener. I have one. I've gone for the classic. Oh, I'm out of focus. 1 second. Let's get it back. It's okay to leave in some bloopers, whatever. I've gone for the traditional one that your grandma would have to open her tins here, which sometimes work and very often don't. We've got a mechanical tin opener. They are beautiful. Right, let's pop this open.
Just to mention Vault City, they are one of the best in Britain at sour beers. Probably one of the best in the world, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're a Scottish one. I don't know if that's a thing that makes a difference, but right, I'll pop this in here. I'm being a bit not very. You probably won't approve of this, but I've just had a drink in the car. It's fine. Sacrilege. It's fine. It's fine. It was water. Anyway, right. Let's go for it. I don't know what I'm expecting. Okay. Oh dear, what is this? Kind of cloudy. Slightly cloudy. Ooh, a little bit of a head, but I think that's going to go away. Okay, I can't get any more in. Right. Let's have a sniff. Ooh. It smells like a smoothie. You know, it does have that real fruity. Right, let's have a taste. I'm going to have a sip. Oh, that's interesting. What is that? Ooh.
Second sip's always best, I find, on a sour. Because you've got rid of that. It's sour. And then you can flavors.
Yeah, 100%. I took that sip and it was like, okay, I needed to tickle my tongue. You know, that kind of like a burp. But that second one, it is sour. Ooh, it's got me tingling. You know when you get one of them, when your kids get them sour sweets, and before you put it in your mouth's going like that. It sort of does that.
That's what you want. A good face sucker.
Yeah.
A good face sucker. That's another good description of a woman. They're just bearing women. They're hand in hand, aren't they? Strong in flavour. The raspberry proper kicks you in the face. Proper tickles you. A sort of sweetness. but that sour is very, very strong. That is quite nice, actually. I think it was about £3. I think it was about £3.
Yeah, that's cheap for them because Vault City, you're looking at £7 to £9 a bottle. They started doing these for Tesco, so for a cheap entry level, like if you've never had a sour beer, perfect.
Commonest sour beer right there.
Yeah, perfect.
That was pretty good. Yeah, I quite actually, gonna be honest, I quite enjoy that. I'm gonna going off what you said a minute ago. I reckon too many of them, that's gonna give me stomachache. That sounds like not a recommendation, but I do feel that it's like when you say to your kids or whatever, don't have too many sweets, you're gonna get a tummy ache or your face will fall off or something. But genuinely, I think if I had maybe, let's say 4, I think my stomach at the end of the night and the morning would be going, what have you done? What have you done to me? But that's pretty nice. I will definitely try a different sour. What sort of Ben? I know you're going to tell us about yours in a second, but what sort of different flavour sours can you get?
Sure, you can get everything, and if you're talking about Vault City, they absolutely like do anything you could imagine, and they've bottled it and made a sour out of it. Any flavour, I don't know, lemonade, bloody tayberry, any weird thing you can think of, blood orange, passion fruit, guava, lemon drizzle. Go on the website and just have a look. They're constantly knocking them out of the park.
I will definitely have a little look at that.
Yeah. Nathan had a honeycomb and white chocolate one, didn't you, actually?
That sounds weird but tempting. Like I'd have a go.
I'll grab my beer. So I've gone for the brewery is The Veil, which is an American brewery. It's a Sunshine Sorbet Tasty. Nice little can.
I love that picture.
Yeah. It hasn't got much description on it, but from what I gather, it's basically a Sunshine Sorbet. So I'm expecting big fruit in the glass, nice summer vibes, and obviously this has been chosen because we're bringing back memories of going. We personally not bringing back memories of going to summer camp, but if I was at summer camp as a child, I'm sure I'd be drinking something along these lines, but without alcohol in it. So fruit juice, like lemonade with a bit too much sugar, all them sort of vibes. So let's crack this one. I'm sure it'll be a good one. The Veil are a good American brewery that you don't see too often over here, so this one was quite expensive. But this one don't look as horrible as yours.
Yeah, it looks juicy.
Look at that colour. Good look. That's a melted Solero, that is.
Yeah, exactly. That looks very nice, doesn't it? Nice head on it. Ooh. It smells like a Solero and all.
Oh, good. I'm tempted. I want one. Then again, knowing you, that cost 25 quid.
Nah, it weren't that bad. You can just smell it. It's going to taste that like exactly what it smells like.
So, if anyone's just listening to this cast, it's a very strong yellow orange colour that does 100% look like a melted Solero.
Ooh, that is fucking beautiful. that is a melted Solero. I'm telling you, its mouthfeel and all just feels like that.
That's what I like about sours, because if you get a fruit tea, they always smell delicious and then taste like crap. When you get a sour, you smell it and you think, oh, that smells fruity. Then you taste it and it actually tastes fruity, or it tastes what it's supposed to taste like.
Yeah, that's 5.5. That's just like drinking juice. That's so nice.
I'm not sure I felt the percentage on mine. You know, when you have a drink, you can be like, "Ooh, that's weak," or "Jesus, that's trying to kill me." On this one, I mean,
what percentage is it?
Mine's 5. Mine's 5. I don't feel. It's that sourness, isn't it? Because you tend to get that. You get that alcoholic kick from the taste, don't you? You get that. There's a thing, but that being such a strong taste, really, it punches you in the face before you can feel the alcohol. But as that, that reminds me of like when you'd have those like, like when you were young and you'd be slamming down the Bacardi Breezers, and you wouldn't know how strong they were until you were drunk. Because they taste so strong. Like the watermelons or the orange, and you'd just be smashing them down, and then you'd be like, Jesus. or any sort of a lot of the spirits that you'd mix with, let's say, a lemonade or whatever.
So, title card appears. It's dedicated to his mother, who he mentions is a doer. After that, we get into the opening, which is a cold opening. It's like comes out of nowhere. You don't really know what's going on. But first thing is there's a lot of weird relationships going off in this one scene, which you sort of have to get your head around for it to pay off a bit later. So I'll just run through the relationships. I think I'm correct in this. So basically, we have John, who is the dad, and he is on the boat with his two kids, which are Peter and Angela, messing around in a little lake, which is next to the camp where this film takes place. But this is set prior. This is like 8 years prior to the events of the movie. So you've got John and his two kids, and sat with him is his gay lover, which is on the beach. They're an openly gay family. Like the two gay men who have got kids, and they're bringing them up. So the twins are Peter and Angela. Like I said, they're his kids, and they're 4 years old. The identity of the mother is not really known, and we presume that she must be dead or she must have left or something, because this is no plight on gay people, but in the 80s, if there were a gay couple with kids, the custody probably wouldn't go to the gay lover. So we were guessing that the mother is out of the picture. So when the gay lover's on the beach, he shouts John, and he basically says, "Oh, hurry up, the doctor's coming." She's on her way, and then John says to the kids, "Oh, Dr. So-and-so's coming," whatever her name is, Dr. Thomas, I think it is. And they go, "Oh, Aunt Martha's coming, Aunt Martha's coming." So if that were his sister or his sister-in-law, would he really call her Dr. Thomas? So that makes me believe that maybe they're just really good friends, and maybe because he has maybe been cut off by his family, I don't know, or his wife left him, that maybe she's listed as next of kin. That's my take on it anyway. I don't know if you two have got different views, but that's the convoluted relationship that's going off at the start.
I thought it was like his business partner or something, me. So we're like, God.
I thought he was just a fucking dude on a beach.
At the start, you don't know this, obviously, but...
It wasn't obvious. I totally missed it. Nathan, please tell me.
In hindsight, it makes sense. But when I watched...
You missed it exactly like I did.
It was like, Doc's coming at 4:30 or something, and I thought it was like his assistant or something, or like a business partner. I didn't think he was like his lover.
Yeah, they're referring to Martha, the doctor.
Yeah. I didn't get that until you said that.
Yeah, because I've obviously seen this film quite a lot. This is what I mean. This gets complicated at the beginning, and when you first watch it, all this goes over your head. So these are the relationships. I'm just trying to get it set out there. So when we go through it, because it does call back to it later. So anyway, if we've covered that sort of, so you can sort of gather who's who. You've got two men who are openly gay, and they're raising two children. The mother's out of the picture, and they've got an aunt called Martha. So anyway, they're messing around on the boat. And it cuts to some teens then who are in a speedboat. They've got a young lass that they're dragging, and she's scared to death on that jet ski. Like, she's screaming her head off. But obviously they're not paying any attention. You've got like a young lass who's like coming onto the lad going, "Oh, can I drive boat?" And he's like, "No, I'll lose my job because this guy is a lifeguard for the camp." But obviously they're on this. They must share this lake with some sort of holiday home. So they're all like having a laugh. He does let her drive, and that kid's still screaming her head off behind him. So the scene is they've got John and the kids in the water, these kids on a motorboat. Obviously, what you could probably guess happens next is the motorboat sort of, I wouldn't say it loses control, but they don't seem to realise that they're about to drive into two kids and the dad on a boat, basically, before it's too late. And then the jet ski lass, she's like trying to shout help. She's like, watch out, and they're both like, just like not even paying attention. At the front of the boat,
closer to the obstacle, but the girl at the back who's on a jet ski sees them before that. Yeah, it's a bit weird, that scene.
Yeah, they're just like, what's she talking about? Anyway, boom, it's that lass up back at jet ski is like, "Oh my god!" Just won't shut up screaming, like Oscar-worthy performance. The kids in the boat who have just murdered a family potentially. They're just like, "What did we hit something?" Like, they don't know what's going on. They're like, "Oh, come on, should we just go?" Like, they don't even care. But yeah, basically, what happens is you see a load of life vests float up from water and a load of blood, and so we can deduce that some people are dead. Which turns out that John is dead and one of the children is dead. So.
But you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know
who,
which
do
children,
you?
which child
Yeah.
died yet. So one of them's dead. So the dad's dead, and the child, one of the children's dead. And then we fast forward 8 years later. We now meet the Aunt Martha who we were just talking about earlier. So this is her first scene where we get introduced to her, and it turns out that she is now the foster mother to the surviving child.
So the gay businessman, beach walker, gets thrown out the picture. Doesn't he? Is like, no, sorry, it's the 80s. You're gay. You've probably got AIDS, and you're not having these kids. That was the attitude. It was in the 80s. If you're gay, you had AIDS. You were like a disease. So yeah, he's out the picture, isn't he? And then it obviously goes to
I don't want to say the weirdo of the film because there is some weirdos, but she is one of the weirdos. She's one of the major ones. I mean, she goes, overtly. The performance by I don't know the actress's name, is spot on for what she's trying to portray, which is like delusional or something. Because I won't go into the scene later on with her because she only appears in 2 scenes really, with this one and the one which one Lee's going to talk about later. I know, but she's obviously had a negative. Like, there's a negativity coming off in a sort of she's a nutcase kind of way, and it's obviously affected one of the children, which is the surviving one, Angela, and then she's got a cousin, which is it doesn't seem like it is, but it's her son, it's Aunt Martha's son, which is that threw me a little bit because he seems really well adjusted.
Well, in that first scene also, when the kids ask Aunt Martha's coming, they say, "Is Ricky coming?" And they said, "No, Ricky's at his dad's." So something happened between Martha and Ricky's dad, which is obviously, I don't know if this is what tipped her over the edge, but she is obviously batshit crazy. So maybe that explains it.
Well, it explains it to an extent because I don't know how much she could get away with being how she is, but she's clearly like developed like some sort of split personality thing because she'll be like, it's time to go to camp now. I hope you have a nice time. And then she'll look down away and then rub her fingers on her face and be like, because if you don't, that'd be really, really bad.
Hurry, sweeties! We don't want to be late for the boss! Goodness, no. No, that wouldn't do at all.
And it's very strange.
That wouldn't do it at all.
She's like, it's I don't know whether that's something for later on as well, that she's sort of split personality in that way and that's sort of being put onto other people, but that's a weird one. That whole scene, just like setting it up. They got off to camp. I don't know motives for sending them to camp as well. I thought it would be something else. I won't go too much into detail, but why send them to camp when there's things that you don't want people to know? It seemed a bit off to me, that part. It seemed a bit strange.
Ooh, close to that spoiler.
Something a bit. And it's like, why she's well aware of what's going on, and she forges paperwork, which is strange that she does that for him. But
I've got your paperwork. Don't you worry.
it was all a weird affair, but
because we should mention she's a doctor as well, so. She's somehow got a medical license. I don't know.
Somehow kept that medical license.
She's got, in the same way Data is some sort of scientist in Star Trek, she comes across like some kind of, I think it was either Karina or I had said, what is it, a fucking
like
robot?
An android or something.
What is it? Just like, oh, hi children, today, woo! And it's like she's overly playing the part to the point of obscurity, and immediately, right? Okay, so I mean, this is something we're talking a little bit about later, but yeah, weird, just weird. Throws you. You've got that initial first scene where it's like bang, you've got a massive accident. Second scene, who's this fucking weirdo? What is going off with this film? And then it, like I say, they get sorry for interrupting you, Nathan, but then they go off, don't they?
Well, yeah, that's it. They arrive at camp, don't they?
But I'll just say that performance by Martha, the actress, is definitely intentional. You can tell she's because she's a nobody actress. She's probably stage trained, and she's just gone with that like weird vibe. And director must have liked it.
Yeah,
But
it's weird.
It's not in keeping with anything else in the film. It's very out of whack, isn't it?
Yes.
I think it deserved a little bit more backstory to her, a little bit more a reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a fan favourite. I know people love her, like, as you can see.
Yeah.
So yeah, after that they're at the camp, aren't they? They arrive at the camp. They have a little bit of banter as they're walking down, and then it's a typical arrival scene, isn't it? They're all like, "Oh my god, I'm here at the camp." They're all rushing down this hill. They're all wearing very similar clothes. There's one very striking sort of chubby girl that I see who's kind of like, you must have noticed her. She's like, blah, 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 blah. She's well at. It's like all the other kids are like not chubby, but then there's this one.
She's all dressed in black as well.
She's coming down.
So she stands out.
Just like, I felt really bad for her. Like, that's what she's known for. She went to school and they went, "My dad let me watch that film. All you are is that fat kid running down a hill." I felt really bad for her. Like, oh my god, they could have done something else with her. Made her a bit more interesting or integral to the story. No, she literally, her credit should be chubby kid running down a hill.
Just a fact.
Yeah. They're coming down, and then during this arrival scene, there's these very creepy. We'll say there's these members of staff. They're off to the side. They were coming down. So you see them coming down, and there's this group of people, and there's this one guy. Everyone knows the guy that kind of looks like this, overweight, hasn't had a bath in about a month. And he's just like slimy. And I'm like, all right, we'll take him, the slimy character. I get this. I get it. But then he suddenly goes from slimy into a blatantly obvious paedophile in a split hot second.
Look at all that young, fresh chicken. Where I come from, we call them baldies. Makes your mouth water, don't it?
What is that? I mean, I'm just there going, what are you doing?
Just an overt paedophile, isn't it?
We've gone from horrific opening, fucking weird, aren't they? Pedo Freddy and his gang. And I don't know what they're doing. And they're all like going, "Oh yeah, oh hey, we're with the paedophile guy."
Yeah,
hey,
they laugh it off, don't they? Like,
I'm down. Hey, yeah, I'm down with this shit. Every year we've got them smoothies or whatever it is. Fuck it, Jesus Christ, what on earth? We talk a little bit more about clothing later, but there's one guy who's like spent a little bit too long down at the gym, and he wears the tightest top you've seen, like. I mean,
that's Ronnie. Ronnie's a rate legend.
That dude's got pecs for days, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's the nicest guy.
The rest of his body's pretty standard, but he's been in that gym. Someone clearly said to him once, you need a good chest, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And that's all he's done. He's got a massive chest. I mean, like if he fell over, he'd struggle to get back up. It looks that heavy. It's that chunky compared to the rest of him. But yeah. He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah.
100%. They have a little chat, don't they? When they're coming down, the young lad who's with Angela, he knows, doesn't he? He knows some of the other people, and he communicates with one of the girls, doesn't he? He's like, "Oh, we're back," and she's talking to some other boys, and he can see something's going off there. They're obviously setting it up for later in the film, but yeah, they've all arrived. Pretty quick scene, but there was a lot revealed in it, wasn't there?
Yeah,
with the staff and the.
I think it sets up that paedophile as like it's like he's going to get his comeuppance like very soon, and it's going to be a bigger payoff when it happens. Because nobody, even in 1983, is that much of a paedophile that they make it so obvious. Just like nobody cares.
I said to my missus, he's going to die first.
Yeah,
I just said it. I didn't even care, and then we watched the rest of the film, and a little spoiler, fucker did die first, didn't it?
Well, you said that, but he's the only one who doesn't actually die, if you think about it.
Oh, no, he's the first one that's attacked, isn't he?
But he doesn't die.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a shame. Is that saying something?
Yeah. Oh, no, they kept the paedophile. That's like seeing Gary Glitter and going, "It's all right, it's leaving.
He's done his time.
It's fine. It's fine." And we'll also use his music in that new Joker film. But yeah, anyway, so Ben. Sorry, you chugged that Solero, sorry.
Yeah, so obviously talking about camp and not kids and whatnot, I'll just dip into a few kids. We'll just highlight a few characters, talk about them, maybe a bit of dynamics between them both, or what characters. So, like you said, they all come running off this bus, these fat kids and that, but you notice at first that there's just a proper wide age range. There's like 30-year-old blokes, 12-year-old kids and toddlers and that, they're just running everywhere. It's like, who's this camp aimed at? It's like, it's just so many ages. But the main gist of the film, like the tension's always between the teenagers and the older kids. So the thing that I loved about this film, which I don't know if you might not like it, but it's like all the filler scenes that they put in there, like the playing, the capture the flag and the baseball and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like at one point you sat there and you're like, I'm watching kids play baseball for 10 minutes. But at the same time, it's quite comforting, just, them little bits of like being a kid and just enjoying camp. But
before they
what makes it even better, yeah, before they brutally murdered. But what makes it even better is that the kids they've been written like real kids would be. They're like 12-year-old, but they swear like troopers, and they've got very bad mouths on them and some very good insults and all that,
and some terrible shorts.
Yeah, well, you can discuss the shorts soon, but yeah, they've got potty mouths. They're just down and dirty, and they're playing this baseball game, and it's like the young kids versus the old kids. But the old kids are clearly like 30-year-old men, and the young kids are about 10-year-old. It's like, and the hatred between both of them. There's like not even anything at stake in this match. I don't even think they know score one bit. Like Ricky's like, oh, what score? But they're proper dropping F-bombs and like going at each other and like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. There's a lot of tension in this game. It's a nice little scene. But yeah, I think that reveals a lot of the young versus the old kids. Like,
that's when you're like, the film actually brought back a lot of memories from when I was at school, just having
just
older kids, older kids that would, they'd just be like treating you like a piece of crap, and it's like, well, I'm a human being.
But
just leave me alone. And then there'd be younger kids that you could kind of look at and scare.
Well, what's good about this is it sort of flips it on its head, because the older kids are the ones getting beat all the time. It's always the younger kids. The younger kids beating them at baseball. The younger kids are like squaring up to them and like fending them off and all that. So it's quite a nice little change of pace. But so Angela is gone to camp with her cousin called Ricky. So like he's the main boy in the film, and Ricky is like he's the badass in it. He's the cool kid. Everyone knows him. He's just he's a nice guy, but he's a cool kid, so he gets on with everybody. And he's, like I said, he swears like a trooper. He's got some amazing insults.
Eat shit and die, Ricky!
Eat shit and live, Bill.
And,
it's such a brilliant line, such a brilliant comeback, isn't it? It's like, I'd live with shit in my mouth.
Exactly.
Oh, no, it's worse than dying.
Ricky's the man. And even later when he's squaring up some kids, instead of calling them fuckers or you fucking bastard, he's just like,
Fucks! I'm gonna beat your fucking asses in!
Fuck! And he's calling these like lasses out, calling them bitches and that. But it's not only like the lads that swear, it's like the lasses have got potty mouths too. It's like,
fuck you, Ricky. You're just jealous.
It's just quite funny, and it's nice to see, because I don't think you'd see that in a film these days. You won't get kids that age swearing at that. So you've got Ricky, you've got his best friend Paul, who you just mentioned, who he sees when he gets off a bus. He's just like he's like a little kid. He's hanging around with Ricky. He fancies Angela a bit. We'll talk about that later. You've got one of their other friends, Mozart, who's the nerd, and he's like the...
Oh, I forgot about him. I'm glad you mentioned him. I liked him.
Yeah, he's the quintessential nerd, isn't he? Like the 80s nerd. And they're always pranking him and stuff. Everyone loves Mozart. And like I think Nathan said to me earlier, his mum sent him to camp with like ill-fitting clothes. Because he's just none of it.
He's quite a chubby kid, and all his shirts are like stretched up and like nothing fits him properly.
It's to emphasise the teen man boobs. That's
Maybe.
what it is.
But he gets pranked a lot, doesn't he, by Ricky and his pals. But he's one of them who can take a good joke, and he's in on it and all that. So it's all good fun. So as they're the main like good kids, and then you've got Angela, obviously, who's the main character. She's the surviving child of this traumatic boating incident. But because of the traumatic boating incident, now she's 8 years. Well, I think she was 4 years old when she were in the accident. Now it's 8 years later, so she's 12-year-old now, and she's basically don't really talk to anybody. She just keeps send to herself, don't really say out, and because she's like a mute, everyone just seems to hate her like straight away. They're like fucking all the kids are always like checking her and that, and like one lad even comes up to her and he's like,
Yo, Angela, how come you're so fucked up?
To her face. Yeah. It's just like, I'm sure like all of them are quite like, there's a lot of 80s villains in it, and they're all bastards, and all she does is basically not say out, and they just fucking hate her for it.
Yeah, but that's weird, isn't it? Not saying something.
Yeah,
that's weird.
It's a bit weird, and Ricky's very protective of her, and that's when he gets into a lot of his scuffles. Yeah.
He's like a guard dog, isn't he? Like a Chihuahua guard dog. Like comes running out every time something bad happens to her. He's sprinting after him and giving it as good as they get.
So yeah, they're the like main little kids, but there's a few like the older kids. You've got Billy and Kenny. Billy's got a nice line in film.
I gotta take a wicked dump first, so I'll see you guys down there, right?
I like that line. And Kenny's just like a bit of a fool. Like he just fools around. There's a nice scene later when he actually gets killed. Spoiler. But he's just a bit of a cheeky chappy, but he's a bit of a douchebag and all. So they're like the older lads, and then the females are just as bad as the lads, and probably the queen being like the alpha bitch of the female group is called Judy, and she's like, I think how the dynamic I get is that she is jealous of Angela to an extent.
Hey, how come Angela gets to talk to the boys all day, and we have to play volleyball? What's she, special? Because
we find out at the beginning that Judy's got a tits this year, so all lads are like, wait, Judy's got tits. And this seems to me to project that she's like maybe become a bit of a slut because she's getting these like, all the older kids are into her. And so I think that it's like an innocence lost type thing. Like she can see herself like a year ago in Angela, and she's a bit jealous like now that she's like transitioned to be this slut with tits. That's the vibe I get.
Yeah, do you think the casting was a bit off because they look the same?
Do you reckon? I don't know.
I think they're very similar. They both have that kind of...
maybe it's more...
They both have a similar face. They both have dark, long hair. They're so similar. They're not... Obviously, they're not the same. But I like to... I would have preferred it if one of them was maybe blonde or a redhead, or what they were distinctly different in their physical look. I felt they were too similar. Well, a bit too similar.
I think the main thing between them is the body language and how they play it, because Judy's always like centre stage. She's like posing like some sort of model, and just the way she pronounces stuff, and then obviously Angela's like very withdrawn and like she's right childlike, whereas like Judy's trying to be older. So I think that's the biggest difference between them both that stands out. But you instantly know that she's the bitch. But another character I know that Nathan really likes and wanted to discuss at some point is Meg, she's an older kid in the girls' bunk, but she's a counsellor, isn't she? She's the older kids who help out. Yeah. Like I'd say Judy's like the psychological bully, and Meg's like the muscle who backs her up. So she's just as bad as Judy, but on more like a physical level. She's like one's checking Angela and that, whereas Judy will fuck with your head. So
yeah.
They're your dynamics and your main kids that you've got. So you've got like a young group full of close knit mates. You've got Angela, who's very out of place in the girls' bunk, and all the girls really hate her. So that's all that sort of thing covered roughly. So I think if you just want to move on to talking about the staff at the camp, so I know Lee's got some views on the staff. We've already mentioned a few of the staff, but we can go a bit more in depth on it now.
Yeah, just a few of the staff. I mean, we spoke about the kitchen staff. Well, we spoke about that big dude who was the head of the kitchen, and then there was the people behind him. I have a real issue with stereotypes. What are you doing? They're a bit odd how they portrayed. Now, obviously, this is I don't want to say he's a famous actor, but obviously his son was extremely famous, James Earl Jones. Now, what was his dad's name?
Robert.
Robert. So, Robert Jones.
Earl Jones. It's Robert
Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was obviously Darth Vader's dad. He came across as very stereotypical black. Oh yes, master, I'll be cooking up a fine stew. You don't need to worry about me. And I felt like, oh, poor guy.
He gets a promotion though. So
yeah, I mean, but at the same time, he's obviously he's a super nice character in it, and he deserves his promotion and his pay rise that he ultimately gets.
He's nice, but he's enabling a paedophile at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, we just have to think that maybe they don't realise what he's on about. Maybe they're just a bit stupid.
There ain't no such thing as being too young. You're just too old.
Because I don't think you get a gaggle of people, of 5 or 6 people that... The guy who ran the place would have clearly have known something was going off. It would have been reported. Something would have been found out. I felt like it was just in there for the hell of it and odd.
Well, we'll find out later. The guy who ran the camp is called Mel. I don't know if you're going to talk about him, but he's actually a paedophile as well. So,
so then we've got the counsellors, who I feel weren't identified very well in the film up until the point they had that meeting, sort of like maybe 2/3 of the way through, when they're all standing outside and they're talking about what they're going to do. And I'm like, he's like, you've got a day off. You're taking some young campers camping, which we'll cover soon. And I was like, he didn't even know about that. So he just went to, right, you've got the overnight duty doing the camping. And he's like, oh man. And it's like, he would know that was going to happen. He would know. He would have to be prepared and ready for it. It just seemed a bit out of the blue. Other camp staff, you've got Mr. Tight Shirt, his pecs hanging out.
It's called Ronnie.
Ronnie is very, very likeable guy. Yeah. He often appears like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he would come to like.
He's always trying to help, isn't he? He's the only one not trying to shag a child. Basically.
Potentially, yeah, definitely. I think that the camp staff are an interesting bunch. I think they all play their parts well. Heading off to the next part.
Yeah, so obviously we've touched on the paedophilia in this film. There's a lot of it, and it's very overt. So we'll just dip into another. This film is very layered. It's very layered, and there's a lot to it. And it's like the more you watch it, the more you peel back the layers, and you start to realise that there's a lot that is evident to start with, but there's a lot of sexual overtones in this film and a lot of sexual undertones. So you've got the overt paedophilia. Obviously, lumped in with that is the sexualization of kids in this. Like, there's no getting around it. These kids have been sexualized in this film. Like,
I hate to throw it in, just to add to it, you've got this gay couple, which didn't need to be in it at all, did they? As a couple.
Yeah,
in the 80s as well.
I'll touch on it because this film, it's like it's become this thing by accident. I feel like it didn't mean to do any of these things, but like more you get into it and dig deep, it's all there. So the kids are sexualized. I mean, they're all young kids, and like Judy's down to fuck, Meg's down to fuck, like everyone is down to fuck, and it's basically all about which kid's gonna get his end away. Like Paul wants to fucking have sex with Angela. They're always trying to crop a feel on that. So they've got all that layers. Which watching this film, it's like it's too violent and sexual for young kids, but it's a bit like it's got too much like child sexuality in it for an adult to watch it and feel comfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very in the middle.
Although we'll talk about clothes in a second, there was that bit where Judy suddenly appears in a bikini.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to me, I see you as like a 13, 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're here in your bikini, doing your best to push your tits out. And it's like, this is just awkward.
Exactly.
This is why I think at a camp like that, they'd probably insist the children wear like full-on burqas if they're swimming.
Yeah.
You know, like they'd be like, look, no bikinis, only swimsuits. It'd be that sort of you know, like a full. Is it? What do you call it?
Just a swimsuit. Like a
Not
full.
swim.
Yeah.
It's just. I was thinking, yeah, full body swimsuit. Yeah, you'd wear that as opposed to like. I don't think most young girls wear bikinis anyway, but it's like it's a bit thrown in, wasn't it? And that's in the sexual overtones.
Yeah.
And she was pushing that. I'm a woman.
Yeah.
Look at me, Angela, with your no boobs.
This is where I think it plays into that what I was saying, that like she's the one now who's becoming like a woman with sexuality, and she's wanting to attract the older kids, and that she sees the innocence in Angela and that she's jealous of it. And like I said, all this is like hidden within the film, but you have to like look closer to spot it. But another thing is talking about Meg earlier, and the guy who runs the camp, who's just some like literally a 60-year-old dude who's constantly smoking cigars. He is the horriblest cunt, like an old man. And Meg,
the horriblest cunt.
Yeah. Meg is like an attractive young woman. That one who's a counsellor, and she's like so into fucking Mel. Like Mel asked her on a date, and she's like got a spring in her step.
What are you so happy about?
Got me a date tonight.
Oh, yeah? With who?
It's a secret.
Like, this is what I mean about Mel being a paedophile, because he's basically gonna shag Meg, and like she's clearly like 16 or something, and she's got like a spring in her step. She's doing her hair up. She's like seriously into it, and it's weird.
Oh my god, I'm gonna see this really old man.
Yeah, there's like no reason for it.
No, don't do that.
She has to have some sort of daddy issues, like deep down. Something's fucked her up, like, and it'd be good to know. Like, there was no explanation why she's like attracted to Mel. Like, so you've got they're the kids, and they're like all that sexual mess, and then going down even deeper. We've said spoilers and stuff. We won't spoil it too much, but I'll just say that there's transgender themes in the film as well. I know a lot of this divides people, because some people see it as transgender negative and some people see it as positive. I've read plenty of reviews from trans people who have said that it's been an inspiration to them, and it were a good light, like when they were growing up and stuff like that. And there's like good themes in it, so there's them themes hidden within it as well. And there's I think, I don't know if many people pick up on this. I don't know if you two picked up on this, but during the flashback scenes, I don't know if there's a bit of incest hidden in there as well, because when the kids see the two men in bed, and then they sort of try and, it's like they're going to replicate in bed themselves as like little kids, which is all a bit weird.
Yeah, I'm not watching this film again.
So there's maybe that hidden in there. And then I do think, if you watch closely, there's a few scenes that I think there's a few repressed kids in there who are like hiding the sexuality and not like wanting to own it. I think Paul, there's an hint that Paul could possibly be gay. There's a little scene with Judy where she bumps into him, and she says,
"How you doing, Judy?"
You and Angela sure are becoming quite an item.
So what?
I just didn't think she was your type. You know what I mean?
I gotta go.
She like says it in a way as in to insinuate like he likes boys. So you don't know, there's sort of all that bubbling away under the surface. And the guy Billy, who's the older kid, you'll talk about his dress sense, I'm sure, with the like cut off tees and stuff. But he screams like that he's a bit camp, and then later on, all the lads go skinny dipping with the women. And they're like, they're trying to get the women to go skinny dipping, and Billy's leading the charge, and they all say no. So then Billy's just like, oh come on, we'll just go anyway. Get sort of lads naked, and just like slapping their asses. And I'm like, a bit of me's thinking, is he really gay as well? Like, you know what I mean? It's a bit. I think there's a lot of that lurking around in a few kids as well. What gets it?
I think you've thought about this film a bit too much.
I've seen it a lot, so. Like I said, the more you analyse it, more you start to pick up on these little things. That's why I don't think you two seeing it for one time it benefits watching it a few times. I know you've just said you won't want to watch it again, but
I'm not watching it again.
But just my last point on the sexuality and stuff is before my last point, sorry, I've got you touched on it about the gay couple at the start and it wasn't needed and all that, but what I did actually like about it is that I know it's a B movie and it's a bit hokey and a bit crap, but in terms of what it did at box office, it was number one. I think the weekend it came out, it was number one, and it knocked Amityville off. So it was a big deal when it came out. this has a gay couple front and center, with bringing up children, and it's not even made a big deal or anything. They're not the villains. Like normally in 80s, the gay couple would be the villains. They're just a normal couple bringing up kids, and it just gets brushed over, and it don't really mention it. And I think that were quite a trailblazing move to make in 80s, to just have the gay couple be a gay couple.
I'm trying to think of a film where there'd be like a really bad gay couple, just
not like
as villains.
Yeah,
I can't think of
not like cartoon villains. Like they would be the bad guy, or there'd be something about them that would be bad, or like you said about the AIDS crisis, stuff like that. They'd be portrayed in a negative way, whereas these aren't. These are just there, and they're just incidental to the plot. A family, which is quite trailblazing to say it's a 1980s film. So my last point is that the males in this film are more. They're sexualized a lot more than the women. You'd think, like in most films, especially when they've been directed by men, it's the women who get like put in skimpy clothes and they get like put front and center and all. But it's the men in this one. They're all dressed like so skimpy, and there's so many dick outlines, and it's all a bit homoerotic. But the males are sexualized through the clothing, I think, which I think I'll hand off to Lee to talk about the fashion in this film.
I haven't made any real notes on any of this stuff I'm talking about. It's just off the top of my head. Just the clothes in this film are hilarious. It's like all the worst elements of 80s clothes that you can think of. They've thrown them in this. The only female that's sexualized would be the young girl in the bikini who appears out of nowhere, shouts at her, and then you just start seeing her and see her anymore. But the guys, what is going on? You've got, ignoring the fact that you've got the typically dressed, the scruffy chef, his outfit, perfect. But we're not on about him, are we? We're on about the older guy, Mel, who dresses, when he's going out, he dresses like he's trying to dress young, and it's just like he's trying to appeal to something. He has like really bright, like bright yellow or pink trousers on, and it's just like really odd. But then the main sort of clothing which shouts here is the guys.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that half-cut t-shirt that you see? I think you see two of them wearing it. Different. It's either one guy that you see twice, or right, and it's like, do you know who was watching the football? Did you see that thing where that guy took his top off and he had that body monitor on? He looked like a sports bra, and everyone's going, "What is he wearing a sports bra for?" And it was like looking at him, going, "Was that a thing?
Yeah.
Was in the 80s? Was that some sort of weird?"
It were for like 2 months. They just happened to film this in them 2 months.
What is he wearing? And I get it. I'm thinking that would keep you cool. That would keep you cool. But is there actually any point in wearing it?
Yeah.
At that point, you
like
might
no,
as well
there's like no arms,
not.
no waistcoat.
Yeah. It's just, and it's right under his pec line.
Yeah. You can probably see nipple, can't you?
If you lift it up, if you lifted his arm up, it'd peek under. Just at that point, just take it off. So then you've got the years ago, footballers used to wear really short shorts, didn't they? It went from really long, like at your knees, to really short in like the 70s, 80s. But then now it's kind of like half top leg, isn't it? It's like down your thigh. But they're all wearing these, what would be like tight. I can see Britney Spears wearing these.
Yeah.
Like in a prime. Denim shorts that were cut so high up, it might as well have been a fucking thong.
Yeah.
They're that high. Butt cheeks are hanging out all over the place. Tight t-shirts. That guy with the... So it's like they were casting, need a dude with massive pecs to be nice and wear tight tops.
Yeah.
So he has 3 or 4 different tops he wear. Both of them are 2 sizes too small, just so he can look like he's... I don't know, it looks like he's got Reebok pumps as a body. And it's just like this massive... Horrendous. The clothing is horrendous throughout the whole of the film. Especially, like I say, especially with the guys.
Going back to Ronnie with muscles, it's because they've got the shortest shorts and the thinnest shorts. There's a scene where Joe, I think it's when he takes Angela to see Cook, and for one point he like fucking dicks like in a kid's face because of where he stood, and he's got the shortest, tightest shorts on it. You can just literally see all his balls and his cock and everything.
Yeah, you say you've watched this film quite a few times, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got that one saved, that bit. I pause it a lot.
Yeah.
That's next to your Akira poster. You got that one printed out of you. Here's Ronnie's knob.
It's just a bit inappropriate, isn't it?
I mean, it's just 80s tight shorts, isn't it? They are my immediate thoughts on definitely on the clothing. And
two of my favourite bits of clothing before you move on is Judy's got a T-shirt that says Judy.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
I didn't notice that.
And Ricky, when he comes walking into the social with his cowboy hat on, like what a dude.
There's no explanation needed for his reason. Yeah,
does he?
He gets it knocked off his head and then gets like a bloody nose and gets took to infirmary.
In Ricky's defence, he wears some like cool clothes. He's got the 80s vibe down. He's got the cool like band T-shirts, the tight, like denim jeans that are washed. He could look. He just look like a kid from today, a cool kid.
He looks like a cool kid from like any 80s film, anything. Whether it's Flight the Navigator, E.T., just anything. He's one of the cool kids in it. He's cookie cutter though, isn't he? Him.
Ricky's the
others are just like bits and bobs, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we lead on to what I mistakenly called the first death earlier, but of course it wasn't a death. It was a something pretty fucking horrible. Nathan, tell us.
One of the most horrendous deaths, but not deaths, living death. We'll say for afterwards.
Violent scene.
It's a violent scene.
Yeah, definitely.
It's awful, but it's well deserved because it's the cook who is the openly out and proud paedophile that's somehow allowed to work with children before DBSs and stuff. He gets. I don't want to touch on who we think killer is yet. I think we can leave that till a bit later. But basically, it does something to someone, and then usually, like Lee said with synopsis, someone does something unfavourable, and then they get some form of comeuppance, and he's obviously a paedophile, and he tries it on with someone, and then proudly walks out doing his belt up, and then gets seen, which is. It's a strange thing. If you're a paedophile, he's open and proud, so that's fine. But in real life, he wouldn't be doing that. But he's got on the boil water that he's checking, even though you can clearly see it's boiling because there's smoke coming out, in the world's largest pot, which I could fully stand up inside and still just be peeking over the top. It's ridiculously big. But Ben told me earlier they had that specially made because a pan of that magnitude does not exist in real life. Which,
as someone that's worked in a lot of kitchens, I'm gonna tell you now that would never boil.
It's an accident waiting to happen. By the time the heat got to the top, it would have gone stone cold because it's that high up.
It's not. It can't rotate quick enough. It can't because obviously it boils that water right on the metal, which then rises, and then it creates that flow, doesn't it? Until it's all settled, and it's just that's never going to boil.
Like trying to boil a swimming pool.
That wouldn't happen. With a lighter. It's underneath. It's not getting on.
It's just this ridiculous pan. I presume he's going to be boiling corn in it because he's messing about with some corn. I mean. For someone with food down him and no morals, he's a bit picky on his corn because you see him sift through it and throw one away like it's a bad one. But,
this one's too hairy.
I don't want that. I like a bald me, and he's saved all these ones. But he's got all his corn and he's getting stuff ready and that, and obviously they've got all the kitchen equipment they need, like the one chair that he needs to stand on to then lean precariously over this pot. Onto the shelf, and as he's doing that, he realises he's not salted the water because that's the most important bit. I mean, you'd need a full tub of salt in that amount of water, but
like a bag of sugar. You know, you buy them bags of sugar, you'd need a couple of them.
He just very lightly just sprinkles it on top. That would do nothing. I don't know what he's trying to do with that, but
yes, ratatouille,
that's going to improve his cooking tenfold. That little tiny bit of salt that nobody's going to notice. I mean, I don't know how they're going to get him down afterwards. All that. I'm thinking of either he's going to lift pan down full of water. It just didn't make any sense.
How are they going to get water out?
How long's the ladle going to be? Yeah. Imagine doing a soup in it, you'd have like a 5-foot ladle
tied to end of a sweeping brush or something to be able to get all the way to the bottom because you've lost that corn. If that sinks, you've lost it because you're not getting it back out of that. But he leans.
Is this the scene where he confronts the person in the fridge?
This is a bit after. This is like...
Yeah.
Is it just a bit after? Right, okay. I feel like there was a bit missing with that scene.
Yeah, I didn't want to go into too much detail on how he takes in the fridge or anything like that. But he's as he gets up on his special kitchen equipment chair that's all rickety, he's testing water and whatever. Someone comes along, starts shaking leg. He notices who they are, which that's a key point. Don't forget that I've said that. Right? He notices who it is. Says like, "Oh, I did whatever" to him. Like, openly says that he recognises who it is, basically.
It's you. Yeah.
And then he like sort of grips hold of the thing. But at this point, it was about that high to him, I'd say, even when he's on the chair. But at this point, it's gone to at least waist height, and he's leaning forward over. So that doesn't make any sense. And then he starts getting more violently shook, and then he goes to fall off. But as he does, he grabs hold of the pot for some reason to steady himself, pulls it on him, and the person that's shaking the chair, they manage to get away from like a swimming pool with scalding water being tipped out, but then gets scalded, gets his comeuppance, and he looks like he's in the worst pain ever, with him laid on the floor, screaming. I mean, for a film, like when you said budget $350,000 or whatever, they put it all. The actors have got paid pennies for this. This has all gone on special effects, practical effects, because the practical effects on this film are spot on. His scalded body laid there, shivering, with all blisters all over him. There's even one on his cheek that pulls.
I'm just going to say definitely wasn't shivering.
Well, not shivering in a cold way, but shivering in a all my nerve endings.
Oh god, it's fucking freezing.
Yeah, he gets scalded. He gets sore eyes as well. But he's because you can see it. And then doesn't James L. Jones's dad come and find him?
Yeah, I think he finds him. But can I just mention that when he gets scalded, it's like the longest scream ever. And when the ambulance finally turns up, he's still screaming. And if you think about the logistics of phoning an ambulance to a summer camp that's in the middle of nowhere, it'd probably take him like an hour to get to you. Yeah. But he's still screaming, so he could potentially be laying on the floor for like an hour or longer, just like in constant pain.
That's how painful it is. I mean, when they're leading him out, they don't give him any painkillers or all. You think they would have knocked him out from that amount of pain? Like what I was saying earlier about it. One of them like pushes his arm down to get him out the door, to like get him out the door. That'd proper kill if someone touched your scalded arm.
Yeah.
But then. It's a workplace incident. It gets swept under rug and people get bribed and paid off, it doesn't need to be like that. I mean, it's a back of house like person in a summer camp. He's not like a main like spokesperson out at front. I don't know why they cover that up.
Can we just say it's Mel who's the camp owner, the old guy who's shagging Meg. He's the one who covers everything up, and he's always there, and it's like. Yeah, I mean, he obviously knows the guy's a paedophile, and then he's like trying to pay off kitchen stuff, and he's keeping everything hush-hush. Like basically, he don't want out to get out because he's got all this money invested in this camp, and he don't want like, if we get this reputation. But like Nathan says, it's a workplace accident at this point, so there's no need to be like that. And yet he's still paying off all these, like trying to pay off all these cooks and stuff.
Yeah, because he doesn't know. Nobody knows what's happened other than. This man's on the floor and there's a pot that's landed on him full of water. There's nothing suspicious.
No.
If something happens at work, you don't go running out and telling your customers what's happened, do you?
Yeah, or
you don't
paying staff off.
You don't fit. Yeah, you don't. I don't know. It's weird that he treats it like that. it's strange.
From get-go, yeah.
You'd just be like, oh, no, I hope nothing else goes wrong, or I hope he's all right, or something. But for him to cover it up, I mean, like I said, remember that he saw it were, and as far as we know, he didn't die. I mean, he might die like septicemia or something in ambulance, but couldn't he? One of the plot points that I thought was a bit wrong was, couldn't he just tell the police that someone did that to him, and rather than it weren't a workplace accident? Or that didn't make any sense.
Well, maybe he could have said it to Mel, and that's why he's trying to cover it up. But then that doesn't really make sense, because then Mel would apprehend the kid.
Yeah.
So maybe
because he goes on a bit of a mad on later, doesn't he? So
maybe I don't know, but it's all a bit strange.
Yeah.
But what the doctor's got a good prognosis, hasn't he?
Oh yeah. What does he say that to him? That is. He asked him.
Like Ronnie's asking if his eyes are alright.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean that.
And he's like, no, it's badly burnt. It's too early to tell that. And it's like, well, yeah, no fucking shit.
Yeah.
Guy's fucked. Yeah. He's like, oh, he's badly burnt. Yeah, you're a doctor. I think we can all see that he's badly burnt.
He weren't needed, that doctor, really, were he? Just they needed to take him away, but they've got a doctor there who is in his suit and that, and he doesn't even care. Just weird ways. for a slasher film, that was the first kill, which is not very slasher.
Yeah.
Just goes on to be more of a scolding. But there's other slasher elements into there.
Yeah, speaking of slasher elements, like you just going back to what you said first off, when the kid approaches him, it's the classic POV. So we've seen this in loads of slashers, which is like Halloween style POV at killer, and they run around kitchen, and then you see the cook and it's all that like, what are you doing here? Who are you? Get away from here! Like all that talking to the killer, and you never hear the killer or the kid. You never see him, you never hear him. It's just from their point of view. So that's a very classic slasher trope, which they've obviously put into this on purpose. But speaking of slashers, like golden age of slashers is like 78 to 84. Obviously, this come out in 83. So basically, up to 1983, slashers had become a bit of a, like, everyone were a bit sick of them until 1984 when Nightmare on Elm Street, like, gave it a big boost. So at this point, slashers are a bit over and done with, but they can probably still make a quick buck. So this is probably why they chose to make a camp slasher, because obviously Friday the 13th made the camp an iconic place for a slasher film to take place. Obviously one of the most iconic slasher films. So it all makes sense, because if I believe the director he weren't bothered about making an horror film. He weren't into it. He weren't making an art piece. He just wanted to make a film to make some money. And he's like, what's popular? Slashers are popular. We've got a camp that we can use for now. We're going to make a camp slasher film. So, yeah, that's the ins and outs of the slasher tropes in this. But there's obviously a few more. Like, a lot of slasher films, the killer has suffered childhood trauma or abuse. So we haven't said who the killer is, but if you can sort of gather who it could be or it might be. So yeah, they've suffered a lot of trauma as a child, which this one also uses this trope. They normally killing a lot, like slasher films. They go around killing a lot of teenagers, adolescents. Obviously, we're at a camp with teenagers. They all get killed. I know the cook's just been served his comeuppance, but rest assured, a few kids do get killed. A lot of the victims in slasher films you do hate. Like you do want to see them killed, because that's the payoff with a slasher. It's like if it's a slasher film, you know you're going to get people getting killed, and the people that get killed, you want to see them get killed. So like there's a lot of characters who are bastards, i.e. the paedophile, that you want to see get killed. So it lives up to that in that respect. The deaths are obviously violent and graphic, which, talking about special effects, this film has done a stellar job on special effects. There's a lot of nice violent kills that obviously slasher fans love. Another thing is there's a lot of original kills, so the more original, better. The tool they use to kill, the better. And there's a death near the end that uses quite a unique tool to kill somebody in a unique way, which we'll brush over. And this one differs slightly. We aren't giving away the ending, but there's normally a final girl in the slasher. This sort of inverts the final girl, so we'll touch on that at the end.
Spoiler, careful.
I know Lee's going to talk about the ending, so this inverts that trope, which is quite ingenious. And I think this is why it's stood test of time, is because it takes these tropes that were tired in 1983 and it sort of rejuvenates them a little bit and sprinkles a bit of new life into them. But yeah, it's on all them notes, and it's very much a classic slasher film because of it. So, talking about slasher films, talking about deaths and stuff, there's a few deaths in this. Obviously, the first one hasn't happened yet, so going on to the first one, I'll let Nathan handle this one.
Yeah, got his first proper death, and what I'd say, well, not the most horrific, but the most, in terms of special effects, I think the best looking one. You've got Kenny, which is what the douchebag sort of. I got he was supposed to be a bit of a stoner vibe. I mean, you see, is it Billy? Oh no, is it Billy that comes later on? Where they're both smoking weed and that. Yeah, but you see him smoking weed, so he's got that sort of stoner vibe, and he goes out on a lake. I mean, I can't. He asks every girl there, and they all say no. But then for some reason, this one girl who's coming a bit later, she doesn't know how much of a dickhead he is, so she agrees to go on this magical romantic canoe ride with him. And I don't know what his end game is. I thought it were to Copperfield or whatever or something. But he decides that tipping boat is that's the way you score. Obviously, it's not, and the ladies don't like that. So he tips the boat and then he hides underneath it.
Will you give us your rendition of his song?
No, I've saved that one for you. I was going to say you've been doing it all day and doing my editing at work.
Yeah.
This song, do his little song.
Hey Baba Reba, hey Baba Reba,
Hey Baba Reba, hey Baba Reba.
For some reason, he sings the song and then he's like saying is she called that? What's she called that girl? I can't remember her name.
Leslie.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Tracy. He's like Leslie. Like, who else would it be other than the other lad who's hiding in the boat? He's been saying that turtles are gonna get her and snakes, but then it turns out because it turns to a different camera shot. Because it looks like they're out in Midlet Lake. The boat's literally turned over just next to the pier, and she gets straight out. And she got wet, and she's pissed off, and she goes home with her friends. And then his friends decide that he's a bit of a cock, so they leave him alone. Oh no, they don't leave him alone straight away actually, because while he's under there, someone appears up under the water and pushes him under the water to drown him. So it's the first death in a slasher film, which is also another not a slasher, is a drowning. But he doesn't even put up much of a fight, he just sort of wails his hands. And they're quite near to the dock, so I'm guessing that he probably could have touched floor, but he gets drowned. And then his friends piss off because they've had enough of him, because that's what he's like, he's scared all girls off. And then the scene changes, because he's obviously dead at this point. The scene changes to morning to someone that we haven't seen before, but for some reason his part is crucial for this bit, so they got a different actor in than just like one of the other ones finding. All kids have made a mess, they've chucked all stuff in water, so he's there violently throwing all stuff up, trying to clean it up, lifts canoe up.
He runs the dock, doesn't he? It's like the little dock area. It's like it feels like he's the caretaker or something.
Yeah, he's fucking raged and all, isn't he? He's like, fucking kids.
Yeah. He's in the wrong job, dear. He hates children. You can tell from the start he hates kids because they keep chucking up lawn chairs and thing and that old patio stuff. And so you hear him. I mean, he's got enough stuff to be dealing with, but you hear him go, "And who's put this there?" or something, because it's the canoe right quite far away, close to the camera. Someone's put that on shore.
Like, how the fuck... How's he got there? How's he got there? From the lake? With the body in it?
Yeah.
And it's appeared on the shore.
Yeah, quite high up on the shore. It's not even like it's in a bit of water as well. It's like fully on the beach with this body underneath.
The tide's lifted it up. It's floated over. Tide's gone in. It's a lake, right? And it's just confusing.
Yeah,
it is a bit confusing. But only when you think about it. If you don't think about it, it's fine. He's just found the boat.
Yeah, but then to make it a little bit weirder, he finds the body, and the body looks like it's been in the water for about 3 weeks. It's like a bloated corpse that's been chewed all up, and then a snake comes out of his mouth, and it's like that literally happened a few hours ago. How? What? Why?
That's Indiana Jones. That is. That's 100% Indiana Jones. Hey, Indy, there's a body, and then the snake comes out of the eyes and the mouth. It didn't believe the snake didn't belong in this film. I'm sorry, it just didn't. It was an odd. If someone had a great idea for a snake, but they should have just kept it as an idea.
It was like a baby snake as well, and it's just that they obviously made a full body dummy, and the special effects on that are really good. The practical effects, I think they do the best one with that one. I mean,
I think practical wise, amazing.
They've done a proper good job. It's strange how they've done that for that one kill when there's not even any like sort of blood involved. It's just drowning. You think it'd just be him laid on beach, save a bit of money, and he's got blue lips or something like that. But they've gone full out with that one. And then, as always, Sid James turns up with cigar. Good old Mel as the owner. And
this is a very good scene.
Yeah.
This is a very good.
Like, police are here, and he's like, oh, he's drowned. I'm no expert, but I think he's drowned. And then Mel's like, oh no, he could have been thrashing around and messing about, and he's banged his head and it's knocked him out or something. And he's like, well, it's possible, there's something. And then what does Mel say?
It was an accident.
Just shouts his head off, and it's an accident, and he can't even pronounce it. It's just like,
it was an accident.
Just shouting it constantly. Lee, you need to go back and watch that bit specifically for that. It's just hilarious.
And the cop's like, I'm no expert. It's like, it's not my profession. It's like, yeah, it is. You're a cop and you're investigating some sort of accident or death.
Yeah, you're here to assess the situation. That's why you're here. There's no other danger.
He gets swayed very easy.
Yeah, it's like, well,
he gets swayed.
It could be an accident. I don't care. Then Mel's proper adamant that it's a thing and it's accidents, and he don't want any business going bad, and it's
covering
like another cover up. Yeah, he's trying to sweep it under the rug and get rid of it, but then Ronnie, the good guy of the story, who just fizzles out later on, but he's the good guy up to this point. He's like talking to the police, like saying, "But he was a strong swimmer," and he's starting to suspect something, like something's weird. But he sort of drops that, and then he goes the other way, and he still likes to think that there's accidents going on.
It was an accident.
Whereas Mel wants to keep it as accidents and hidden away. And then we get on to the next death. Now, this is another horrific death, and it's only a quick one compared to some others, but it's a ridiculous, and it's not a slasher one as well. So this is the third death/accident where it's not a death by being stabbed. But we get him, Billy, who's Kenny's friend, coming in, and he is absolutely desperate for a wicked dump. He tells everyone in the cabin that he's in for a wicked dump. They're all going to go to dinner or wherever they're going, or out to play or something. So he's getting a magazine, rooting round, goes into the toilet cubicle, he's sat down doing his thing, reading a magazine. Window behind him's like a screen window. Now a knife comes up, cuts it down. I don't think he even notices at this point that a window like literally 30 centimetres behind his head's just been cut open. But then someone puts in a stick with a beehive on, and it's like something out of a cartoon with this beehive on a stick. And like that's when he notices, and he starts like, "Get out of here!" or whatever he's shouting. Oh, I should mention that someone's put a sweeping brush handle on fruit door, not a very thick one, and it gets broken, but it still doesn't leave.
What is that? What? Like you say, sorry. I sat here looking, and I'm looking at Karina, and she's like, "What is that? What is? It doesn't make any sense. You could lean on that door. That handle / twig would have just broke. Like you could just push it. You wouldn't even need to have like a foot, like of a run up of like a foot or something. You know, like a barge. No, you could have just. It would have just popped open. I thought that was a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Piss poor. But they could have used a thicker fucking stick for that one.
But another obvious way out is because you see the camera pan and it shows you his feet, but you don't even see the door because it's that high. There's a gap under the door that you could easily.
I bet it's one of those low ones. Yeah, like, I bet it's low as well.
You could easily crawl onto it.
I mean, it could even someone slash window open. He could just jump out a window if he's like definitely allergic to bees. But someone's having an hard time, whoever this killer is, flicking this beehive off this stick, because for like 10 minutes they're waggling this stick around, and then it finally drops, and then you hear all bees swarming. You never actually see a bee up until he's dead.
Yeah.
And then he manages to get out or whatever, I think. I don't think you see door open, but next shot, he's laid on the floor, and his arm is an absolute mess full of bee stings. There's like an open wound with bee crawling out, because that's what bees do. They chew into your flesh. Not that they just sting you and die.
They tunnel through your body and create little openings, don't they?
Yeah.
And like these massive welts. I'm sorry, but we touched on it earlier. That's like probably hours and hours of damage there. And it would probably have to be alive for that long in order for it to have swelled up and be that red.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he got stung maybe 20 times, fell over, he died. Well, we can accept that. Maybe they knew he was allergic.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe they knew he'd die. But his fucking body wouldn't look like that, would it?
But the effects do look good, don't they?
Yeah.
The effects look bang on.
They look proper
amazing.
good, and it's. I would have expected him to drop it into conversation like, oh, he's allergic to bees or something, for that to become relevant. But it doesn't. It's weird. And then for some reason, it pans up to his face, and all bees are all on his face.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's covered.
What did he do with that beehive? Did he just start fucking munching on it? Why are they all swarming round his mouth? It's a bit.
Because they also only swarm around a queen, don't they?
Did
so it would have had to have been.
He's just ate the queen. He found it on the toilet seat. Thought, if I kill the queen, they all die. But they were wrong. They all sting your face. That's what happens.
In this way, you had your little gripe with the film as well.
Yeah.
After Billy's death, innit?
Yeah, it's because this is my low point for the film. This is where it sort of tonally shifts, and it's all an accident up until this point. This one's clearly not an accident. I mean, it could be, but someone's cut screen and whatever, and there's like a beehive in there.
Yeah.
But that one could just be a prank gone wrong. Like they even say, they even acknowledge that in the film. So this is where Mel switches to, there's a killer on the loose. I need to find this, and it all turns into that because of this beehive. All the other kills up until this point are actual kills and stuff. They were all on purpose, and they weren't accidents. And this is where Mel starts sort of having a witch hunt about it, and there's no in between.
He was in denial. It's like he was in denial and hiding it until this happened, and then he went, "Oh my God, there's a killer!" And it felt like he knew who the killer was. Did you get that feeling from him?
Instantly?
Like it's that killer again.
It felt to me as though we were missing out on something. Like there were a scene cut or something. Like there should have been some sort of intermediary. Like he finds something out to think that it's the killer. Or if someone had witnessed someone putting that beehive in on purpose, or they found like an air clip or a fucking, I don't know, a sock or something at each crime scene. Do you know, something to tie them together, and that's when that one made sense or something. But it doesn't. That's, for me, that was the low point of the film, because it tonally shifted and didn't give you an explanation as to why, and I would have preferred an explanation to that point. But there's other. We're up to his actual slasher kill now, aren't we, Lee?
Yeah. So this, I think, was the first, like, there I go, slasher. Is that acceptable? Slasher. Yeah. It was the first slashed person. Meg, arguably one of the better looking of the cast members, sort of counsellor, wasn't she? She'd probably fit quite in well with Grease as part of their cast. She kind of like fits it, doesn't she?
She's a bit ballsy.
She has that. Yeah, she's cocky. She's confident. She's pretty. She'd definitely be part of the Pink Ladies. It's So she wants to have. She's obviously going to meet paedophile Mel, isn't she? And she's like, I need to have a wash because we don't want him thinking that I'm dirty or anything. So she's like, I need a shower. So there's a queue of like 4 girls that are having a shower that turn around and like, no, you're not coming in here after she asks them.
Yeah.
So she's like, she wanders off to the. Is it the boys' showers or is it just another girls' shower?
I'm not quite sure. It's sort of next door, isn't it? But it's on its own, sort of like.
Yeah. So she's gone around there, and I did write some notes when I was watching it. I put shower scene, death imminent. That knife. So someone comes in, don't they? They creep in. That knife goes through the side panel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is such an odd scene. I'm sorry, someone stabs you with a knife, you're going to reel from the knife, aren't you? You're going to pull away from it. Yeah, fuck. You know, like if you sting yourself or any kind of pain, your reaction is to pull away from it. So she's stabbed. Probably, it was on her back, wasn't it? Probably like chest high.
Yeah.
And we found out a little bit later that it was central. So it would have been in her spine. Okay? Central to her spine, this knife. And then it was, as you can see, it was dragged down this like wooden panel through her back, pulled down. Not all that quick either. It wasn't like a bang and a bang. It wasn't like it was a stab and then it was a drag. She fucking just stood. She's just standing there. She's stood there as if like someone's scratching her back, and she's going bit lower, just a bit lower, bit to the left. So she's being basically cut in half. Well, she wasn't, but it's like she's being cut down her spine, and she dies. She's then found later on by Mel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who's looking for her. She gets found by Mel. She's on the floor. He don't even look.
Before she falls on the floor, what did you notice about this scene that's very out of place?
I'm not sure.
He walks in. Bear in mind, she's been stabbed, and when the killer's stabbed her back, the killer takes the knife and he rinses it, or he or she
of
rinses
course.
it.
Yes.
So we know the knife is not in the back. So for some reason, Meg's body is like balanced in this shower cubicle, and as soon as Mel walks in, he don't pull the curtain back. No, nothing. He walks in the room, and then her body falls out like on its own.
Yes.
But she's probably been there for 20 minutes.
So it's like she's been stood up.
Yeah, and then as soon
she
as
falls down. So she's on the floor, and then this clearly must have been an artistic choice. It's just a cut. Like, it looks like a really sore scar that's down her back. Now, I get, someone said, wait, they're in a shower. But the killer does turn the shower off.
Yeah.
So, I think realistically, she should be covered in... well, I'm going to say covered in blood, but there should be blood on it. If anything, that should have... Even when she'd have... Like she'd been dead, the shower turned off, that would have been bleeding some sort of amount. And she would have had blood over it. No, it's just like a surgical scar that's really sore down her back. A perfect line. But of course, remembering that she didn't move when she was being cut open. Ridiculous scene. I was quite disappointed with that bit. I think most of it I'd been relatively okay with and accepted it as B-movie drivel and just got on with it, and it was fine. But it's coming across that bit, it was like,
but
what?
The bit afterwards when Mel finds her, that just makes it all better.
Yeah,
but he's like,
it's
Gabagool. He's like turns into some sort of Italian. He's like, oh Meg, what happened to Meg?
It is.
And he goes on a big monologue now. He's like, not you, Meg.
But then he's like, oh, I need to sort it out, and then he goes off. He just doesn't seem to care that much. I felt like it.
I thought he cared too. But you were like, no, Meg.
Yeah, but then
he's
like that, and then he like loses thinking. He's looking at her. Then he like looks away. One last look at her ass, and then he walks out.
Yeah, he's like, ooh.
I think he's the type of guy that would have slapped it.
Yeah, on his way out.
He would have copped a feel, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
he would have been like, yeah, still
possibly.
Good. Still good. Like, if you've got a paedophile chef, you damn well know that he's going to cop a feel of a corpse on the floor.
Yeah.
Probably still warm. It's probably not been there that long.
Definitely.
So, going on to some more deaths.
Yeah, I think you wanted to talk about this, didn't you?
Yeah, I have these because I felt it was a bit of a wasted moment. It jumps from Meg getting killed. Now, if you remember me mentioning that counsellor guy who has to go and take these campers out on a trip. Now, is it one or two of them that are moaning and they want to go back too? Yeah, I want to go with my mummy. I want to go back home. Anyway, so he's thinking, do I take him back? And he hesitates because he's like, shall I leave these out here in the woods? I mean, it's America. It's probably full of bears anyway.
Yeah.
But he's like, what shall I do? He takes her back, and as he comes back to find, was it four that's left?
4.
absolutely decimated in their sleeping bags, butchered. You don't see any sort of detail of it. You just see the blood and the torn up. Now, I'm sorry, but I feel that needed more of a scene. It needed more of a setup. We needed to.
We get the setup, but it's very, very subtle. And I said to Nathan earlier, did he notice it? And
I didn't notice it.
It's not good enough. I feel like it's not good enough.
Did you notice the setup though? Do you know why they got killed? Because there is a reason, and it's very subtle, and you'll see it.
Give me the information.
Do you know when the girls when they drag Angela and they chuck her in the water? Yeah. And then Ricky runs and saves her, doesn't he?
Right.
And as he pulls her out of the water, there's 4 little kids, and they're chucking sand at him, and he's like, "You little fuckers, you'll pay."
Wait, is it those ones?
Yeah, it's them 4. That's the setup.
So Ricky kind of like kills them.
Well, this is the mystery. What's in the film, which will lead.
I didn't realise it was there. This will
lead you on to my next point. Which is I ain't got any gripes with this film, but there is one little scene that made me I just wanted to pick it out, which is when Judy gets killed. So up until this point, it's sort of you don't know who's the killer, but you've got an idea that it's either Angela or it's Ricky. So you're either like, is it Ricky, is it Angela? And there's a lot of times when Ricky loses his shit, like with the kids, and you think
he does get frustrated. Yeah.
Is it Ricky? Is it Ricky? So when Judy dies, Judy's on her own in her camp because she's not gone to the social, and she's on her own. It's all dark, and then we see this shot at the door, which is clearly Ricky in a wig, and it's meant to be a silhouette shot, and obviously it's saying because they come in and then they kill Judy, and it's like the gripe I had is why have they put that shot in there? Because up to that point there's a lot of red herrings, and I'm thinking, is this just another red herring? But when I've thought about it more, I think that because if you look into the trivia, the girl who played Angela, the mother of the actress Felissa Rose, she wouldn't let. She said the actress is too young to do any of the killing, so she didn't want her to do any of the killing. So they got the young lad to do them, who plays Ricky. So he did all the killing. So this is then Ricky. Well, this is then Judy about to get killed. So because they can't use Angela, they put Ricky in a wig to make him look like Angela. And I think they just wanted to frame a silhouetted shot. And obviously back in the day on VHS, you probably wouldn't even notice that it weren't him. But when you watch it today on Blu-ray, it's you can clearly see it's Ricky in a wig. So it's either they've done it unintentionally and they've just left it in, or they've thrown it in there to make it even more confusing. And that's my only gripe, is that it feels like if you see that that's Ricky, because it's definitely Ricky in a wig, then it makes you question a lot of other things that happens in film, and it sort of ruins a lot of other things. But deep down, I think they just threw it in there because they were making it out to be Angela, but they used Ricky, and in back in the day with a silhouetted shot like that, and on VHS you wouldn't even see detail. So that's what I want to say.
This is your low point, isn't it? This is your
Kinda. Yeah. It's not really a low point, but I just feel like if they were saying that it is Ricky in a wig and he's the one doing the killings, it sort of throws a lot of the other parts of the film out of whack, and the payoff's not as good. So that's all I wanted to highlight as a lowish point for me. It's that little scene with Ricky in the hallway made me question a few things, but after that is obviously Judy's death, and I'll just touch on that very lightly because she's the alpha bitch and she wants her comeuppance. And as I was saying, the slasher deaths use unique tools. Well, this scene it's not graphic because you don't see it, you just see the silhouette on the wall, but it's insinuated that she's using some curling irons, and the killer gets the curling irons and actually penetrates her vagina with them whilst holding her face down, which technically wouldn't kill her. And I'm sure I've read that there's a few sequels to this, but the proper sequel came out years and years later by the actual director, and I'm sure Judy is still alive, because I thought she's made out like she's died, but that would just wreck her vagina, wouldn't it? Really, it wouldn't kill her. But talking about it earlier with Judy being the slut and that, I think it ties in quite well because she's held up as being the slut, and the wrecking of a vagina with these curling irons. Do you know what I mean? Nah, she can
Stop
never
saying that fucking words together.
She can never have kids. Like, she's fucked now. And I think this is that tying it all together, but on a subtle level. Like I said, these levels, and you might not have noticed it, but more you watch it, more you pick up on these little things. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Do you think they were purposeful?
I think they unintentionally, they didn't mean to, but they laid this film with so much depth, and when you watch it, you can pick it out, and it's there on a level, but like on a surface level, it's like what you're on about. But when you watch it, it's definitely in there.
Can we email the director and find out?
Yeah.
If he's still kicking about,
But
we need to ask.
That's
him.
a unique kill anyway. Whether or not she dies or not, it's quite a unique kill. And like I said, it's not played graphically, but it's insinuated, and you know what's happening, and it is quite cringy in a good way.
I didn't realise exactly what was happening there, I'll be honest.
Yeah, like I said, it's there, but you have to look a bit deeper. So after that is when Mel gets his comeuppance.
Just a little bit before he dies, maybe one of the reasons why he dies, because you find out this is the definitive point of where you find out who the killer is. You find out that it's Angela because she openly kills Mel. I think this is the first. Is this the first one where you actually see the killer? Like, I think
you see her, don't you?
Yeah. So it's and just before that, Mel in his big rage about Meg getting done. Turns into like some sort of like Planet of the Apes caveman sort of thing, and he finds Ricky chewing on some sweets, walking through woods, drags him into woods, and then proceeds to like beat the shit out of this little boy, it's a bit weird. I mean, it's just the way that he's like not punching, like full on like a chimpanzee, like laid into this little kid who was just eating some bloody Twizzlers or whatever they are, them little Haribos, just because he's had no tea or something, because he said he went to bed because it gave him bad stomach, whatever they'd eaten. So that James L. Jones's dad weren't earning that £50 extra a week because he's doing a crap job in kitchen, but he gets
because other kids are like, oh, it was horrible, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like, other kids says it and all.
Yeah, because
it lets him back in.
So obviously they kept that paedophile around because he was doing a good job in kitchen, because nobody was moaning about food before that, but. There's like he beats the crap out of little Ricky, and that's sort of like you see a Ricky. Then he's still alive because they find him, and he's like all battered and bruised and that. But then,
but who finds him?
Is it the policeman?
Yeah, and what can we all say about this policeman? I'm sure Leah.
Oh wait, is it the same thing that I picked up on when I watched it, and I fucking burst out.
Everybody
I won't say who's mentioning it.
Go on, Lee.
Okay, he turned around and I said, "What the fuck is that thing on his face?"
Yeah,
it looks like two ironed gerbils.
Yeah,
just perfectly making that horrendous mustache.
It
is the worst. It's the worst fake mustache I have ever seen. And the thing is, I didn't pick up on it previously when we saw him. I wasn't. It's like I wasn't paying attention.
Earlier, there were a cop there with a mustache, and that were real. So I was like, why didn't they get this guy back? But this is a whole other cop, and he's just got a totally fake mustache.
I thought he was the same guy.
No,
but
he's
I
a
just
different
hadn't
guy.
noticed before.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a different guy, but they wanted the same
aesthetic,
guy
maybe.
Because that's horrendous. Yeah,
it's like electrical tape just stuck on his lip.
It's horrible, isn't it? It's horrible. There's no effort whatsoever. Makeup department. Have you got a fake mustache? No, use this instead. It's just all right. We'll have a go.
But yeah, that guy finds Ricky. So carry on, Dave.
Yeah,
he's like that.
Mr. Fake Moustache finds Ricky, and then we've got Mel in the woods again, where he's confronted by Angela, and I don't know how she does it, but I think she throws an arrow, and or does she have a bow? I don't even know if she's...
Well, you don't see a bow, you just see it in her hand, don't you?
Yeah, it's weird, but it shows him like, oh no, it wasn't Ricky, it was you all along, or something like a Scooby-Doo moment, and then an arrow just goes straight into his throat, so he gets his comeuppance, which Ben's slowed it down because he likes to see the frame by frame to see how they did it, and he says they actually killed him.
Yeah, it's seamless.
Yeah, that was his last film
Yeah.
because he actually killed him. He's dead because of how good that shot were. But that's Mel gone, and then we have one last proper slasher one, don't we, Lee?
Yeah, so I've put myself down to talk about this, but I've realised that I'm not sure on parts of it, so you're going to have to fill me in on the death, but then I want to talk about the kind of reveal. Yeah, so Angela, she's just like walking around, and she finds young Paul.
Well, she arranged to meet him, didn't she?
Yeah, and she's like, I'll meet you at the beach or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or the shore or something, and they go down. So I'm a little bit blank to what happened.
Well, I'll just
stop at the reveal for me.
I won't do the reveal. I won't do the reveal. But one thing we hadn't said is that I mentioned it earlier that Paul is like interested in Angela, like he wants to get with her, and he keeps like having little date nights with her and meeting her and trying to kiss her.
Oh, sorry. Yes, this bit needs mentioning, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's sort of sparking up a relationship with her. And she says to him at one point, "Meet me at this beach," or whatever. So he's buzzing and that. So he goes down to meet her. Obviously, we don't see any of this happen. We see the little love interest with him throughout the film, but obviously, when we talked about flashbacks earlier, like the ending is where the flashbacks all reveals everything that is repressed. And if you hadn't guessed it at this point, obviously Ricky isn't the killer, like Nathan said. It's Angela who's the killer at this point. What we all find out. So she's arranged to meet him. Obviously, you being a viewer, you won't think there'd be any ill will between Paul, because Paul's been nothing but nice to Angela. I know he wants to get his end away, but he's not been.
Yeah, but he kisses Judy,
horrible
doesn't
to her.
he?
I suppose, yeah. There is a point where he kisses Judy. Sorry, so maybe that's probably it in it. What tips her over the edge, but there's a lot of underlying issues which I'll let Lee talk about, like with the reveal and stuff.
Oh, underlying issues. I'm not sure about the underlying issues.
Yeah, well, that is the reason why, anyway, you can say.
So, yeah, they go down to the shore, don't they? To find Angela.
And she's like caressing his...
cradling.
She's like humming a song and it's all nice and sweet.
Like
and
messed up.
Yeah, I'll let you take over from this point.
Absolutely odd. It's an odd perspective. I find myself just going, what's happening? What's happened? Would I say you don't see him die?
No, you don't see him die.
You don't see him die, but he's dead.
You see it after the fact. You know that he's dead, but you don't actually see the kill.
So they confront the people that come down. They confront her, don't they?
Yeah, it's like Ronnie and that, innit?
She like stands up.
This is when you see Paul's head, his severed head. So you know.
Oh, is it a severed?
Yeah.
You see, this is the bit where I was a bit muddy on when I was trying to think about it. I should have watched this bit just before. I apologise. I should have refreshed myself on it.
His head rolls away, so then because it looks like she's cradling it from behind, like stroking him lovingly, and then as she turns, the head rolls and you see it severed. And then this is when she stands.
Yeah, so she stands up, and they're like, "Oh, it's you," and. Okay, I'm gonna try. This film goes from slasher to like a whole new level of what the fuck. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, this is what we were saying, that this ending has made this film like stand up because of how crazy it is and memorable.
Yeah, I feel the ending in a like Deadly Prey. The ending was like. Not as good as what was it? The film wasn't too bad, but the ending was shit on Deadly Prey. It ruined it for me.
It ruined it for you. It weren't for us.
Yeah, no. But this is kind of different. The film itself, it wasn't too bad. Like it was like uncomfortably watchable.
Yeah.
I was interested in the next death. It was that sort of thing. What's happening next? Oh, it's a shower one. Definitely gonna die. What's happening to the pedo chef? Oh, he's gonna die. And then being like, oh, isn't that Darth Vader's dad? Yeah, that's weird. But then of course, she stands up, and it's suddenly like a horror.
Yeah,
it's scary. The tone is ominous. There's like am I right? It's like a green line.
Yeah.
Something's going off. It's scary. It's like The Exorcist. It's some shit that they're throwing at you. They've gone, you watched this film, you thought it was horrible, but guess what, motherfuckers? We're going to throw this right out the window and turn it into something that you did not expect. And it's like, oh my God, she's got a dick.
God, she's a boy.
And this is where the flashbacks come in.
And then I'll if you don't mind, Ben, I'm gonna pass it on to you.
Yeah, this is where. So she stands up, and just a little tidbit is that the actor for this, because how they did it were they made a mask of the young girl, because obviously they thought
the face was very. Yeah, I should have mentioned the face was. It was very different. There was something about it, like it was like it was lit up, it was lit up and different. Yeah.
So this were a proper fully grown man playing this part with a mask on, and he's obviously bollock naked. Screaming, and apparently he had to get drunk to do this scene because he felt so comfortable doing it.
Oh God!
But that's when it zooms out and it's like, yeah, it's Angela, she's a boy. But what happens is the flashbacks come in, and Aunt Martha, the crazy woman from earlier, the doctor who took her in, she already had a son called Ricky, so she didn't want another son. She wanted a daughter. She always wanted a daughter, but now her husband left her, so she can't get a daughter naturally. So she takes in Peter. The son, the twin, who actually survived the boating accident. So it weren't Angela that survived. Angela died. Angela and the father died. The little boy survived, but the little boy came out of the hospital, and Martha decided she wanted a little girl. So instead of saying it was Paul, because they were twins, so they looked vaguely familiar, she dressed her up as a little girl, treated as a little girl, must have used some sort of hormone suppressants. And this is what we're talking about with the transgender sort of themes that run through it. Basically, it turns out Angela was actually a Peter, and yeah, she's obviously had this split sort of persona within her. Maybe she wanted to be this Peter who she were, but maybe it were Peter who were doing the killings. And obviously, you've got all this weird stuff boiling over, like Paul fancies her, and she sort of fancies Paul. So is she gay, even though she's a transgender woman, but not by choice? It's all a bit convoluted, and all this sort of boils over in this one scene where she severs Paul's head and she stands up, and you would think that, when I first watched it, I didn't think that this would be the final scene. I thought there'd be a bit of wrapping up at the end, oh yeah, the camp's closed, blah blah blah. But the scene is just literally Angela stands up, knife in hand, she screams, and she's letting out these it's like animal noises. It's like Rah! It's weird, and then it freeze frames, doesn't it? And it goes to a negative image. It's very weird coloured.
Yeah. And
then it freeze frames on that disturbing image, because all councils are oh my God, she's a boy, and that's when they realise, and then it just freezes, and then credits roll, and I think that's where this ending grabs you, because it just stays weird. It's that image is burnt into your brain once you see it, and unless you went on the internet or looked it up you would not know this twist were coming at the end. It's it's a big payoff. If you do Google this film and people said don't read anything about it, don't know anything about the ending, because it's a lot more impactful when you just see it for the first time without knowing.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure Lee would agree. I'm sure you would agree that ending is memorable, and you'll probably never forget that. And a lot of people say a film can live and die by its ending. So I think this stays in your memory because of this, and this is probably why it stayed in everybody's memory, and it's required. People have gone back and watched it again, and you said, it's haunting, isn't it? It's horrific. It's it's a shift, a campy slasher, and then it turns to this something else.
Yeah, it's like a weird psychological scare. It's horrible. I feel like they had a good idea. It was let's have an accident, let's have a weird aunt, let's make it so the aunt made the kid a different gender, and then at the end there's a reveal, but then let's fill it with this typical campy slasher story in the middle.
Yeah.
I think the film could have been shorter. It could have been. I feel like it was quite long. I feel like it could have been that the hour 15
maybe
or something.
Maybe the scenes where they're playing baseball could have been cut out, but they're the scenes like I love watching. Just like
they were good. They were good scenes.
They were like filler scenes.
I think they would have been cut. I think nowadays they would have just gone, nah, we'll cut it out. So if you've already spoke about your individual low points, but I had one of my own, and that was I felt that when did I write the weird foster mum aunt needs more explanation. I felt that other than the oh my god it's got a dick moment, the other part that for me I don't want to say ruin it. I feel that's the wrong word, but the bit that made me feel a little bit like a sentence hadn't been, like it's like, oh, here's this interest, and then it just stops. We need to know more about the aunt. Why is she like this very controlling, obsessive? Why did she switch over the gender? Why is she fucking crazy? How is she a certified doctor? Why was she allowed to have these children to look at? Why? I think it's too much of a why.
Yeah, I think it's hinted at that obviously something happened with her husband. With the film, with all the issues that it touches on, I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out her husband were gay or transgender or something like that. You know, what an housewife in the 80s might have pushed her over the edge. Maybe it's something like that.
Like she wasn't accepted, she lost the plot, she turned into a robot, she went quite a lot, and then she decided that apparently 2 boys wasn't okay.
Well, she always wanted a girl, so that were it. She was like, she says, I always wanted a girl, but now my husband's gone, that couldn't happen. It's like, well, yeah, you could get a new boyfriend or something, maybe have another baby and try, not obviously take somebody who's had a bad accident and obviously traumatized and lost all the family, and not take them and put all your shit on them and fuck them up, and then turn the gender against their own will. Like you can understand where Angela's coming from. I think Angela's like the villain of the piece, but she's sympathetic villain. Like it's basically she's the bad guy, but she didn't do anything wrong. It's like everybody around her did the fucked up shit. Like her aunt did the fucked up shit. Like, all the people at camp did the fucked up shit. The paedophile tried to molest her, blah, 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 blah. It's like she were always innocent. And she got it all forced on her. So I think that's like the way to look at it, really.
This is how I view that film Falling Down with Michael Douglas. How he didn't do anything wrong, he just got frustrated with everything around him and lost the plot. Couldn't get his breakfast at McDonald's because it was like 2 minutes past the time.
That's quite different
kind of thing. Oh no, it's 100% the same. He was having a bad time. He was affected by his surroundings in such a way that he did shit that, he didn't have to. That's the same with this kid. That kid was affected massively by his surroundings and went and did all this stuff. Like, he could have just been like chill. But Ricky could have just had a nice new brother. Could have grown up with a brother and just had a great time,
Yeah,
No.
maybe. But
that
Martha didn't want that. And obviously, if that didn't happen, we wouldn't have got this tremendous film. So it was all for the best. So we'll do the films out of 10 like we always do, but a typical beer score would be out of 5. So we'll go for 5 with beers. I'll ask Lee for his opinions first on the beer and then the film.
Beer. All right. I don't really have a favourite beer. I have nothing to really compare it to because it's something very different. Having a sour, having that kind of like strong.
Would you say it's like this film? Nothing to compare it to. Quite unique, with a bit of a twist.
Maybe. A bit of an oddness not discovered anywhere else. Yeah. Very individual sort of. I love the raspberry flavour for this one. The sour kick is great. It's very unique for a sort of like an alcoholic drink out of a bottle, can, whatever. I will definitely try some more. Scoring out of 5 for the beer. Yeah. That's a very good. I'm gonna give it a 3. It's not bad. It's not great. I definitely want to try a few more to put it in a bit more of a better perspective. But I think a 3. I think a 3 sits nice for this one. I'm very, very happy to say that. 4 pushes it a bit too high.
Yeah.
But I think a 3 is a good.
Solid.
Do you know what I mean? A 3 is a good. It's more than acceptable. I think a 3 is a good.
Yeah, it's better than average. A bit better than average.
Yeah, 3 is definitely better than average.
Yeah.
As for the film, bit of silence there. So it's better than Deadly Prey.
It's like every film going to be better than Deadly Prey.
That's the stick that he judges.
I have to.
That's like the first thing you say. It's better than Deadly Prey.
Not watching a film is better than Deadly Prey.
Wrong. He's wrong.
Yeah, it's not as good as Chopping Mall. I will give this film, mainly because I didn't feel like it was boring me. I could watch it, but it wasn't as interesting as Chopping Mall or exciting. And I do like the sci-fi from like Chopping Mall. The ending was odd, but better than the film. Like the payoff for watching the film is worth it.
Yeah.
Like Chopping Mall was like, it was just all pretty much the same all the way through. I didn't feel like there was a big payoff to watching it. It was just like, yay. It's like watching Die Hard or something. Yay, they won. They a typical action film sort of thing. I'm going to sit this at 7 because I think it's... I said to myself in my head 6. I think it's better than a 6. I think it's a 7. If the actual I think if the content of the main body of the film would have been a little bit better, like the shower, if there was blood on her back, if it was more of a gaping wound, I think they went over the top with the special effects. Even though they were good, I felt that that the damage done to it, that the guy with the stinging, I think you looked at it and just went, shit's not real, you know. Yeah. It's just not gonna happen. And although it looked good, I felt justifiably, I felt like it was a bit of a letdown in the fact that it was so far gone. So I'm gonna have to stick to a 7 for this film, and I'm happy to. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad it was part of the selection.
Yeah,
definitely. I'm glad I was introduced to this film.
Yeah, that's a respectable score.
Yeah, and like I said, a friend at work watched Chopping Mall and thoroughly enjoyed it, and I am going to they say they love crap B movies, so because of that, I'm going to recommend.
Yeah,
this film.
that's the thing. Would you recommend it to somebody?
100%.
Yeah.
If you like films in general, I'd probably go, look, it's a bit shit, but the ending's interesting. You might enjoy it. Also, it's one of them where you can sort of guess what's going on. Throughout the film, you're constantly going, who's the killer?
Yeah.
Who is it? Is it Ricky? Is it something that's coming out of the lake? Is it, is it that kind of fantasy / sci-fi element? Is it something from the dead that's doing it? Because I thought that for a moment. I'm like, is it Angela's brother coming and like killing and protecting her? It could have been.
Yeah.
If that was the ending, Angela could have seen her brother at the ending, and he could have disappeared into the lake.
True.
And just gone off. And that would have been, for me, a justifiable ending. I would have accepted that as an ending, but obviously this was far more of an interesting ending.
Yeah.
That would have been a little bit more generic, and I don't think it would have achieved any level of notoriety or popularity. I think they can sit as two words. They can sit quite nicely next to each other. Yeah, 7. I'll stick to my 7.
All good. So 7 from Lee and 3 for his beer. What do you say, Nate, for your beer first?
I'm gonna go with a 3.5 for my beer. It's the thickest sour I've had, and it's more like a meal. It's quite nice. Yeah, it's. I prefer my sours a little bit more sweeter. This one edges towards the bitter side of fruit. But
mine was too, actually. I felt like it didn't have enough sweetness to it.
I would drink it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Sleepaway Camp.
I'm gonna shock you a little bit with this one. I'm gonna give it 8.5, and I think this is the highest one I'll give, and that's more to do with the fact that in my B movie tastes are more horror /slasher, no pun intended. for my tastes. I prefer those ones. So this is a film that I would recommend, and I already knew the ending. Not that I've seen it before, but that's because YouTube spoiled it for me. Because I watch a lot of lists on stuff and about other films and stuff, and that was one of the twist endings. One of the films that gets talked about a lot, and that's why I'm looking forward to watching this one. So I knew the ending for that. And what about you for your beer?
Well, that beer were fucking amazing. That was one of the nicest sours I've ever had, and I've drunk a lot of sour beer. That were like you said, you were telling me it were a Solero in a glass, and you couldn't even smell it or taste it or out, and it were a Solero in a glass. That I'd say that were like a 4.5, and that's a definite 4.5. So that were a quality beer. If you like sour beers, maybe you could pick that up sometime. I don't know how often you'd see one of them about, but yeah, definitely recommend that. As for the film, as I've said to you too, I've watched this film a lot. The problem I have with doing this podcast is when I've watched these films originally, I've watched them now and again, and I've always been like, oh, that's a good film, that's a good film. And then when I've come to picking this list, I've like, oh yeah, I'd be interested to see what Nathan and Lee think about this one. And Nathan actually picked this one out because he wanted to watch it. And obviously I've seen it and I thought it was a quality film. But I was like, oh yeah, that'd be good to watch. But problem I have is the more, when we do these podcasts, I watch the film again. So maybe I've seen it 2 or 3 times before. Then I watch it again. And then I make me notes and I might watch it again. And the more I dig into the film, the deeper I get into them, the more I start to love them. So like Deadly Prey might have been, for me, like a 7, but after I dug into it, I was like, oh, I love this film. And then we talked about it, and I loved it even more. And it's sort of same with Sleepaway Camp. If it have just, first time I ever watched it, from a single viewing, I might have said, oh, that's a 7, that's an 8. But I've watched it again, and then we've watched it again, and I've dug into it. And the thing with Sleepaway Camp, what Chopping Mall didn't have, was the characters were all right, but like we said, they weren't defined. You didn't really know who was the main character. Deadly Prey had one good character, who was Danton. But Sleepaway Camp has got so many good characters and so many memorable characters, and even the bit part characters are memorable and good. Like Mozart, he's just like a throwaway character, but he's so good. Like Billy, he's so good. Just every little like character has got little quirks, and I just really love them. And more I've dug into it, and I said to you throughout this podcast that the layers of this film, it deserves watching it over like a lot of times, and the more I've watched it, more I loved it. So this is going to be the highest rating I've given it. I know I'm being boring because I give every film like a 9, so I feel like this one, after we've watched these 3, has like actually come up, that's rose through the ranks. And I wouldn't think when I made this list that this would have been the best film on the list so far, so I'm giving it a 9.5. I would have given it a 10, but there's just some slight issues with plot, like where it could unravel if you picked it, like with Ricky being at your way, stuff like that. But like I said, I think that's a throwaway thing that they just got wrong when they made it, and they didn't realise that 20 years later or whatever, we'd be watching it on Blu-ray. So I forgive them for that, but I'll knock it down a little bit. I don't want to give a solid 10, but I'd definitely say 9.5. And I definitely recommend it to anybody, even if you don't like these type of films. I mean, Lee said that he enjoyed it and he got stuff from it, and obviously that ending stays with you. So if someone like Lee can enjoy it to an extent and give it a 7, then I think that people can enjoy it whatever.
It was only really the ending which brought it up a little bit.
Yeah, because it's a memorable ending, and
yeah,
just for that, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
it's an average of 8.3 for all 3 of us on this.
So with 8.3, we'll round it up to like 8.5 then. So
yeah, sure, yeah, 8.5. Yeah.
Which is Deadly Prey was that an 8.5? Oh no, a bit lower, 8 wasn't it? And Chopping Mall was 8.5. So this matches up with Chopping Mall.
Interesting.
It's because me and Nathan scored it higher and I scored it higher, so it's brought it up, hasn't it?
Shame.
Shame.
You should drop it down a bit.
No, I think that's a fine score. I firmly believe, Lee, if you in a few years you might think, I want to watch a crap film or to turn my brain off. Oh, I know. Sleepaway Camp, I remember that. And you'll watch it, and then the second time round, I think you'll enjoy it a bit more.
I won't. I won't because I know the ending.
Yeah, but I know the ending, and I found even more of it watching it.
I hate to say that I think you're special, then in this regard, in the B movie, in regards to these films. I think your love is something which affects you and the way you look at them and appreciate them.
I think more. I like to dig through the trash and find the best thing in the trash. And this is definitely the best thing in the trash. One of the best things.
As long as it's higher than Deadly Prey, I'm not really too bad.
Yeah, it would 0.5 higher for me. But yeah, so that wraps it up, doesn't it then? Is that it, lads?
Yes.
Fully sorted. We've discussed it, we've talked about it, we've rated it. That's Sleepaway Camp. I'm sure if you've made it this far, I'm sure you should have watched it. If you haven't, then we've ruined it for you, but go and watch it anyway. We're going to wrap it up there. Just going to say goodbye. This next film is one that I've picked out that I've not actually seen, and I've been wanting to watch it for a while, just because the trailer alone will make you laugh your head off. But it's The Dumpster Fire, that is Arnold Schwarzenegger's first film, I believe, Hercules in New York, where his voice is dubbed over by some hokey American guy. So obviously he plays Hercules and is in New York. I really want to watch this. Obviously it's a change of pace from his regular viewing. We've been sticking to action and horror and stuff, a bit of sci-fi. This is straight out there, just crazy fantasy, muscle bound crap. I'm sure it'll be dreadful, but I'm sure it'll be worthy to talk about. And we're going to pair it with some beers in the vein of Arnold Schwarzenegger. We're pairing it with a high ABV beer, as in high strength. So to match Arnold's muscles, we're going with a muscular beer. So I've set the bar at 10% or higher ABV, but it can be a little. I'll be able to get hold of something, no problem. If you go into a supermarket, it might be a bit difficult. On his letterbox, I've listed a few beers that you can find in supermarkets. But we'll accept anything above 8%. But if you could try and get something above 10, that'd be better. I'll be getting something above 10.
We'll have a look.
So yeah, that's his next film. So if that's everything, I think it's time to just say goodbye.
Nathan's going to say something, but he's forgot. I've been Lee. I've enjoyed being part of this today. It's been interesting. I'll see you next time.
Been fun. Bye-bye.
A great way to join in the fun is by checking out the Letterboxd account. There's a link below. There's a full list of films and some beer recommendation notes on there as well. Don't forget to support your smaller independent shops, and as always, drink responsibly.